Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. At this time, we're going to go ahead and get our program started. We kindly request everyone in the outside hall to please make their way inside, as we will be starting with the recitation of the Holy Quran, followed by Hadith Qissa, which will be recited by our dear Hajj Nahal Naqvi. Salu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه الباد في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عم رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ برسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على. فقال جبرائيل: يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى. فقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا، إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. فقال النبي ثانيا: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا، وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي إذا هو الله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة اللهم صل على
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Jazakallah khair jaza. Thank you so much, Hazna Hal, for that wonderful recitation of the Holy Quran and Hadith Qissa. At this time, we'd like to call Brother Samir to give a short speech and recite Surah Al-Kawthar. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Samir. All lovers of Ahlul Bayt, we are gathered to pay tribute to the precious father of Prophet Muhammad, mother of our beloved Imam Hussein, a role model of dedication to Islam, and Imam Ali. Compassion and generosity to all, a bearer of suffer with grace and humility. She is known as the Lady of Light. She was our baby Fatima. I will be reciting Surah Al-Kawthar. Thank you, Sheikh Abbas, for teaching us that this surah is very special because Allah gifted it to Prophet Muhammad. Through this meaningful surah, we have learned that Allah also gifted Bibi Fatima to Prophet Muhammad as his daughter. Let us all pray that we are guided on the right path. May our spiritual journey be centered and illuminated with our love for Bibi Fatima and our Ahlul Bayt. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna athayna kal Kawthar wasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shaniyaka huwa abtar. Salawat.
Ahsan, Jazakallah khair jaza, Brother Samir. Thank you so much for that wonderful speech and recitation. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now I'd like to call our Brother Wasi for a salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, salawat. Can I have one more louder salawat? Allah. कहाँ जाए आखिर बयाबान हर सू शिकस्तों है पहलू अकेली है ज़हरा कहाँ जाए आखिर बयाबान हर सू शिकस्तों है पहलू اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا در فاطمہ کو جلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا بلایا ہے تم نے در فاطمہ کو جلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا بلایا ہے تم نے تماچے نہ مارو مسلمانوں جاؤ علی کو بلاؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا کوئی جا کے بابا سے کہہ دو یہ جا کر کہ لے جاؤ آ کر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا لخت جگرم حسن ابن حیدر یہ نانا کے پہلو میں سونے نہ دے گر لخت جگرم حسن ابن حیدر یہ نانا کے پہلو میں سونے نہ دے گر تم آ جانا پہلو میں سو جانا ماں کے باقی میں یہاں پر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا شاہ کربلا نے کہا رو کے ماں سے یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے شاہ کربلا نے کہا رو کے ماں سے یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے اکیلا ہوں میں بھی اکیلی ہے زینب اکیلے ہے بابا اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ بہرا مصائب کا سہرا اکیلی ہے زہرا سر مرگ اختر تزہرا कब आओगे बेटा सरे मर्ग अख्तर तो ज़हरा का नोहा कब आओगे मेहदी कब आओगे बेटा खुदा के लिए अब ये पर्दा हटा दो चले आओ अकेली है ज़हरा अकेली है ज़हरा कहाँ जाए आखिर बयाबान हर सू शिकस्ता है पहलू अकेली है ज़हरा सलावत
Allah. Ahsan, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Wasi. As-salamu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, I'd like to ask Dr. Ghulam Abbas to come up to recite a short poem. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, Blantar Salawat. A short poem in the honor of Lady Zahra, Salamullah Alaiha. The title is The Tears. How can I hold my tears when I cannot find the grave of Fatma dear? How can I hold my tears when I cannot find the grave of Fatma dear? Lady Zahra in the court, that's what history wrote. Witnesses were rejected, rights were denied. She kept saying, I am the daughter of your Rasul, but no one cared. How can I hold my tears? Hunched back, white hair, whispering for death when she was just 18 years. How can I hold my tears? Broken ribs, dead Mohsin, house on fire and fear. How can I hold my tears? Buried in the night, funeral was so quiet. What a tragedy with Fatma dear. How can I hold my tears? On the day of resurrect, a caller will call. Lower your gaze until Lady Zahra has passed the entire hall. What an honor and respect. How can we neglect? Was not this clear? Why were they so unfair? How can I hold my tears? Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, Blantar Salawat.
Ahsan, Jazakallah khair jazak. Thank you so much. At this time, we kindly request everyone in the outside hall to please come inside. And if everyone's in the back, can please come as close to the member as possible. Inshallah, we're expecting a large crowd tonight. If there's anyone who would like to contribute towards the Fatimiyya program over these past few nights, please see Shirazi Uncle or Brother Asad Isfahani. One more reminder, inshallah, after dinner tonight, approximately around 8 o'clock, we'll have a Q&A session, which is open to both brothers and sisters with the respected Sheikh. It will be here in this hall. So after dinner, inshallah, please join us for a Q&A session with the Sheikh. Without further ado, we kindly request the respected Sheikh Muhammad Abbas Panju to please take the member. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين آمين رب العالمين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعلموا أنما غنمتم من شيء فأن لله خمسه ولرسوله ولذي القربى صدق الله العلي العظيم وآمنا به. نوروا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. A second of your loudest salawat to hasten the reappearance of Maulana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Ahibai, as we commemorate the martyrdom of Siddiqat al-Tahira, Sayyidah Fatimat al-Zahra, Ruhi laha al-Fida, and as we begin this Mawsam of Aza, even between the second Fatimiyya and the third Fatimiyya, in essence, from this middle of Jamad al-Awwal up till the beginning of Jamad al-Thani is an entire Mawsam of Aza. And this Aza is dedicated to Siddiqat al-Tahira, because every musibah, every tragedy that befell upon Islam started with the oppression of Siddiqat al-Tahira. And it is important for us from this perspective, and it is also important for us because Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra is the centerpiece around which our identity revolves. فأنت, when you say that you are Shi'at Ali, first you have to be Shi'at Fatima. Before you become a Husayni, you have to be a Fatimi. And these are lessons inside of Ziyarat Ashura, by the way. This is istidlal from Ziyarat Ashura. Inshallah, we will have in the future majalis in regards to the tafsir of Ziyarat Ashura and the istinbat in terms of our Aqidah. In any case, Ahibai, if we understand that the critical understanding of Islam is contingent upon our understanding of Siddiqat al-Tahira, our identity is contingent upon Siddiqat al-Tahira, it is also extremely important. Therefore, as a result, it is extremely important for us to have a clear understanding of the oppression that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra was subjected to. It is important for us to understand exactly what rights of Sayyidah Fatima were usurped by the people of Saqifa. Many times we are of the understanding that upon the martyrdom of Rasulullah, the leadership of Saqifa came and they confiscated the property of Fadak. And then Siddiqat al-Tahira came to the masjid and she delivered a khutbah, and she came to the rulers of Saqifa and she said to them, I want my inheritance. The leaders of Saqifa said that there is a hadith that the Prophet do not leave behind inheritance, and Siddiqat al-Tahira quoted verses of the Quran that prove the Anbiya leave behind inheritance. This is a general understanding in majority of the minds of majority of the people, or in the minds of majority of the people, that the oppression of Sayyida Zahra in terms of her rights, the right that was usurped, number one, is that it was her inheritance, physical inheritance left by her father that was usurped, represented by the land of Fadak. Ahibai, this is not only an impartial understanding of the greater tragedy, rather it is an incorrect understanding of the tragedy. Siddiqat al-Tahira did not go to Masjid al-Nabawi over the issue of inheritance like a fiqhi mas'ala, where the father has left the dunya and left behind property, and now the property, according to the rules of Sharia, ownership needs to transfer to the children, and that a dhalim has come and taken this. This is a personal mas'ala, even though it is adhim. The usurpation of the rights of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra was not restricted to a personal fiqhi inheritance issue. La! The rights of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra that were usurped are much more grander. As we will see in tonight's majlis, there was an entire realm of authority, divine authority, that was usurped from Siddiqat al-Tahira. From the grandness of what was usurped, which highlights the grandness of the tragedy, tonight I want to explore with you one aspect of the haqq of Sayyidah Zahra that was usurped, and this in itself is azim for you to understand. So tonight's majlis is one that has a riwayat, is a majlis that has ayat Quran, in through which we are able to understand fada'il of Siddiqat al-Tahira, but at the same time through this fada'il you are able to understand the madlumiyat of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. All of this with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Depending on the time, inshallah, our masa'ib for tonight will be a recollection of the final days of Siddiqat al-Tahira in fair amount of detail, together with her wasiyah. If the masa'ib time permits, we will recite the masa'ib of her burial. If not, the masa'ib of her burial inshallah tomorrow. Tamam. If we begin with understanding the grandness of the rights that were usurped from Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, we begin, and I thank the AV team today, they have been very cooperative. I felt that if we are referencing hadith and ayat of the Quran, they can be displayed on the screen. It is much easier for us to follow the verses and to follow the ahadith. If we can recite the salawat for the shabab, we'll actually put up the screen and the verses. Tamam. We begin with a hadith which is narrated in Sahih Bukhari. Sahih Bukhari, Kitabul Magazi, and I believe this is on the screen. And the version that we've used is an electronic version, so anybody can have access to this. This historical account is narrated by who? By Aisha. She says, أن فاطمة بنت النبي أرسلت إلى أبي بكر تسأله ميراثها من رسول الله. Aisha says that Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah, sent to Abu Bakr asking and seeking her rights from Rasulullah, the inherited rights from Rasulullah. Tamam. What were these rights that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra was seeking for? Mimma, number one, afa Allahu alayhi bil Medina. So number one, the first right that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra was seeking for is the fay. Fay, we will have a separate majlis on that inshallah. This is number one. Number two, wa Fadak, the land of Fadak, number two. And number three, wa ma baqiya min khumsi Khaybar. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra is seeking from Abu Bakr three things: the fay, number two, the land of Fadak, and number three, the remaining khums from the land of Khaybar. Our entire majlis today is around understanding the relationship between this khums and the maqam of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. What is the relationship between these two? And before we move on, it is also important and it is noteworthy that you look towards the end of this narration, which Aisha is narrating. She says over here, if I skip through halfway through the hadith, فَأَبَى أَبُو بَكْرَ أَنْ يَدْفَعَ إِلَى فَاطِمَةَ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا. Abu Bakr refused to give anything from the khums of Khaybar, from the Fay, and from the land of Fadak to Fatima. فَوَجَدَتْ فَاطِمَةَ عَلَى أَبِي بَكْرَ. What is the translation of the word فَوَجَدَتْ? What have they translated over here? Abu Bakr refused to give anything of that to Fatima. So she became, I can't read the verse. What is it? So she became? Fatima became angry. Yesterday we saw hadith from the books that are non-Shia. Inna Allah la yaghdhab li ghadabiha wa yarda li ridaha. Allah is angered with the anger of Fatima and is pleased with the pleasure of Fatima. And over here, within Sahih Bukhari, we are being told, and the narrator is the wife of the Prophet, that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra was angry with the leaders of Saqifa. To what extent was this anger? فَوَجَدَتْ فَاطِمَةَ فِي ذَلِكَ فَهَجَرَتْهُ. So she stopped talking to them. What does the translation say? So she kept away from them. And she did not task him until she died. The actual Arabic is over here, فَلَمْ تُكَلِّمْهُ حَتَّى تَوَفَّيَتْ or تُوفِّيَتْ. She refused to speak to him until she died. More than that, وَعَاشَتْ بَعْدَ النَّبِي سِتَّةِ أَشْهُرٍ. According to Aisha, it's 6 months. However, for us, we have been able to establish she did not live more than 95 days. In any case, فَلَمَّا شاهد فَلَمَّا تُوفِّيَتْ دَفَنَهَا زَوْجُهَا. When she died, her husband, Imam Ali, buried her لَيْلًا in the night. وَلَمْ يُؤْذِنَ بِهَا أَبَا بَكْرَ وَصَلَّى عَلَيْهِ. And they did not inform or allow him to participate in the janazah or the funeral of Sayyidah Fatima. Can you imagine how serious this is? And it is hadith like these that are a hujjah. Enter. You're on the party of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Lola. In any case, our kalam over here is the kalam of khums. The connection between Siddiqat al-Tahira and khums. We know that Sayyidah Fatima cannot be, wal-ayadhu billah, false in her claim. She cannot be untruthful in her claim. Why is Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra asking for the khums of Khaybar? What right does she have in the khums of Khaybar? She has to have a right. If we say she didn't have any right, wal-ayadhu billah, that means she's a liar. But she cannot be a liar, because if we say that she's a liar, that means we have done kufr of the Quran. Why? Because all Muslimin are of the agreement that when Ayatul Tathir was revealed, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Innama yuridu Allahu liyudhiba ankumur rijsa ahlal bayt wa yutahhirakum tathira. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. From the people that were underneath the kisa, one of them was Siddiqat al-Tahira. So Allah is telling me that Sayyidah Fatima is Tahira, purified, infallible, cannot make any sin or mistake or error. So when she asks for the khums of Khaybar, that means she has a legitimate right towards it. Kalam over here, see, tafsir of Quran is so important. Quran is telling you that Sayyidah Zahra is ma'suma, which means she's truthful. She asks for fadak. The people of Saqifa told her, bring 2 witnesses. Alaykum bilahaq. When do you ask for a witness? When you have doubt in the words of the claimant. When you have doubt in the truthfulness of the claimant. So those who doubted the truthfulness of Siddiqat al-Tahira, according to the Quran, what is their hukum? More kufr? Because that means if you feel she's not truthful, then you have done kufr of Ayatul Tathir. Ala kulli. In any case, what is the right and the connection of khums to Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra? In order to understand this, Ahibai, we come to the Holy Quran, Suratul Anfal, verse number 41, which is the verse that we began with in the beginning of the majlis. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّا لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل إن كنتم آمنتم بالله وما أنزلنا على عبادنا, until the end of the verse. Our concern is the first part of the verse. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى. The translation is that know that whatever spoils you take. Now the word spoils is a translation for ghanima. We will come to that right now. But whatever ghanima you have, let us leave the translation as there. Whatever ghanima you have, 1/5 of this is for Allah. This ayah of the Holy Quran speaks about the legislation of khums as an obligatory tax, which is paid from the savings of the citizens of the state in order to fuel, build and improve the infrastructure within the Islamic government, including the eradication of poverty. So this verse is telling you, for whatever ghanima you have, 1/5 of this belongs to Allah, is for Allah. Number 2 is for the messenger. And number 3 is for who? Close relatives. Yani Dhil Qurba. They have translated Dhil Qurba as close relatives. And then you have 3 other categories: orphans, the poor, and the needy traveler. Tamam? Let us understand first of all what is the meaning of the word ghanima. Ghanima, pretty much like this, and based on the translation, it seems to me that this is a translation of the Quran that is not from the Shia Ithna Ashari tafsir or translation, which also shows us the importance of having infrastructure where we have access to credible, clear, concise, accurate translations of the Quran as per the teachings of Ali Muhammad. This is a general problem that all of us face globally, by the way. Europe be it, in Africa be it, North America. We need organizations to work together towards this. Ala kullin. Our understanding is our point over here is what is this meaning of the word ghanima, which is now subject to 1/5 payment to Allah, Nabi and the Dhil Qurba. The Shia school of thought that takes from the fiqh of Ali Muhammad is that ghanima 1/5 khums is payable on any profit, savings or profit. What is understood by profit over here is your annual savings after deducting all your annual expenses. This surplus is subject to 1/5 khums. In addition to this, you also have the spoils of war, such that if the Islamic government, and over here we will use a very restricted clause, that the Islamic government led by a ma'soom, if they are engaged in warfare, then any spoils of war that are achieved or that are gained, 1/5 of them goes to the Prophet Allah, the Prophet, and the Dhul Qurba. This is the understanding of the fiqh and the fuqaha of Ali Muhammad. Two parts: spoils of war and the surplus from our annual earnings. If you go to the school of fiqh from Bani Saqifa, they don't believe in khums in terms of paying 1/5 of your surplus earnings. They say khums is restricted to spoils of war. Why? Because they say that the word ghanima is restricted to the spoils of war. In response, I don't want to make this into a fiqhi bahath for tonight, but it is sufficient for us to understand by proof two ways that the fiqh of Ali Muhammad is more accurate. Number one, if you actually go to the books of Arabic language and you refer to lexicons or texts such as Munjid, you will find that the word ghanima is applicable to two sources. Number one, spoils of war, and number two, surplus income. The fiqh that follows the school of Bani Saqifa, their understanding of khums defies the understanding of the Arabic word placed for the meaning ghanima. They've gone against the language. Khilaf al-Dhahir aslan, if not khilaf al-Wada', but this is a different understanding. Number two, we also have proof that during the time of Rasulullah, as the Islamic nations were growing, Rasulullah wrote letters to various delegations of Muslims living in different parts of the Arabian land, commanding them to pay khums as a wajib obligation in the lifetime of Rasulullah. And we have a number of examples in this regard. I will read for you only one which drives the point home, and we move to the following point. We have a hadith which is mentioned over here, hadith or a historical account which is mentioned in Tariq Yaqubi, because many times there are these claims that come and say, yeah, khums is a fabricated form of taxation by the Shias and it never existed during the time of Rasulullah. All of this nonsense. If you come in, you actually find there is textual evidence that khums on surplus savings was paid during the time of Rasulullah. The proof for this is not even our source. Tariq Yaqubi is from the Mukhalifin. He says, Inna Rasulullah or Inna Rasulallah arsala kitaban ma'a Ma'ad bin Jabal ila Yemen. Rasulullah sent his messenger Ma'ad bin Jabal to Yemen, and in the letter he stated and commanded the people of Yemen, and wa akamtumus salat wa ataytumuz zakat, that you would establish the salat and pay the zakat. وَأَعْتَيْتُم مِّنَ الْغَنَائِمِ خُمْسًا لِلَّهِ, and from the ghanima, surplus savings, surplus earnings, you shall pay the khums, which is the due of Allah. This community in Yemen was not engaged in any sort of war such that we can interpret the word ghanima as spoils of war. Tamam, so khums was an obligation even during the time of Rasulullah. Mazboot. So if we understand now, step by step, anything that we earn, this khitab is for the Muslims, surplus to your earnings, your savings, 1/5 of this khums is the due, is the right to be paid to, belongs to Allah, the Nabi, and the Dhil Qurba. Tamam? Allah we know, Nabi we know. Who is this Dhul Qurba? We want to understand who is the Dhil Qurba. We come again to the ayat of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Isra. Surah Al-Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 26, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Wa'ati dhal qurba haqqahu, and give the dhul qurba or give the dhil qurba their rights. This is in Surah Al-Isra. Wa'ati dhil qurba, Wa'ati dhal qurba haqqahu. And in the ayah of Khums, we are saying that Allah is saying that Khums is for Allah, the Rasul, and the Dhul Qurba. Who is this Dhul Qurba? You come back to, if you remember on the first night, we said that when you want to understand tafsir of any given verse of the Holy Quran, Asbab al-Nuzul or Sha'n al-Nuzul is extremely important. Looking at the historical context. Mufassirin of the Quran, Shia and Sunnah, and from the Sunnah you have Majma'ul Zawaid and Kunzul Ummal. They say that when this verse number 26 of Surah Al-Asra was revealed, Wa'ati dhal qurba haqqahu, I'll give the dhil qurba their rights. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when this verse was revealed, Rasulullah gave the land of Fadak to Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraja. Ya Ali. Tamam. So, if you are understanding the revelation of Surah Al-Isra, Wa'ati dhal qurba haqqahu, give the close relatives their due. Our entire bahath is who is these close relatives that we have to give them the due. The due was Fadak. But who is this close relative? We understand the close relative from Sha'n al-Nuzul or Asbab al-Nuzul. It was Sayyida Fatima. So Allah is telling us in the Quran that the first misdaq of the Dhil Qurba is Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. Tamam. So if we understand in Quranic language, the first misdaq of Dhil Qurba is Sayyida Fatima. Now I come back to the verse of the Quran for Khums. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ, that if you have any surplus, 1/5 of this belongs to Allah and to Rasulullah and to the Dhil Qurba. But the Dhil Qurba, the first misdaq is Fatima. This is why Sayyida Fatima went to the masjid and sought from the leaders of Saqifa her share in the Khums of Khaybar. Now, if you look at this verse, there's something latif. This is from the lata'if of the Arabic grammar when you are doing tafsir, and the importance of Arabic grammar in tafsir. Look at what the verse says. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ. There are 6 categories over here. This khums is related to 6 categories. فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ. Number 1, Allah. Number 2, Rasul. Number 3, Dhil Qurba. And then you have Waliyatama. And then you have Wal Masakin. And then you have Wabn Sabil. 6, 3 and 3. Somebody now can come and tell you, Baijan, who told you that the khums is only for Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra? Because this ayah says that also the miskin, also the Ibn Sabil, and also the yatim. So this claim of the khums of Khaybar is not exclusive to Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. Even the yatim can ask for the khums of Khaybar. Even the Ibn Sabil can ask. This is where Arabic grammar of the Quran comes in. Look at how precise the Quran is. Look at the first 3. Before Allah, you have the letter Lam, which is why it says فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ. Lillah. Before Allah there is a Lam. Lam. Before Rasul, what is there? Letter Lam. Lir Rasul. Tamam? Lillah. Lir Rasul. When it comes to Dhil Qurba, which is Fatima al-Zahra, the first misdaq, there is the letter Lam. So for Allah, Rasul and Dhil Qurba, there is the letter Lam. But when it comes to the Yatim and the Miskin and the Ibn Sabil, do you see a Lam? No. What does this Lam indicate? When you come back to Arabic grammar, Mufassirin of the Quran will tell you this Lam is known as Lam Milkiya. The mulk, the authority, the possession and the right belongs to Allah, Rasul and Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. The miskin, the Ibn Sabil and the yatim are those avenues upon which the khums is used. But the authority of who the khums belongs to, milkiyat, is Allah, Rasul and Sayyidah Zahra. So Zahra alayha salam came to the darbar and said to the leaders of Saqifa, this right of khums which is here in the Quran is my right. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. You see how grand the issue is? We have to sit and we have to understand. Allah, we want to. Maqam of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. This verse allows us to understand the maqam of Sayyidah Zahra, allows us to understand the extent of the wilayat of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Because wilayah is what? Divine authority. Allah is saying in the Quran, وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّا لِلَّهِ خُمْسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى. Muslims, the Quran is a khitab for one generation or for all generations? For one particular set of Muslims or all set of Muslims? Every Muslim in the east of the world or in the west of the world. So the Quran is telling you over here, Ahibai, understand the maqam of Fatima. Allah is telling you in the Quran, inter-Muslim, no matter which part of the world you live in, whether you're a trader in Hijaz or a trader in Africa, whether you're in this generation or the next generation, every generation of Muslims until the day of judgment, Sayyidah Fatima has a right on 1/5 of the property that you earn. This is the authority of Sayyidah Zahra upon us. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajjal farajah. Muslims in Turkey, Muslims in Hijaz, Muslims in Iraq, Muslims in Iran, in Africa, in America, wherever you are, Sayyidah Zahra has wilaya over our wealth. This authority has been given to her by Allah. It was not only a small piece of land, Fadak, that was taken. And this we are proving not from our books, huh? The beginning of the hadith was from Sahih Bukhari. Bain al-Qawsayn, between brackets. If we understand this, Ahibai, khums is more of an aqaidi issue before a furu'uddin issue. Because the asl of khums as per the Quran is aqaidi. And then comes the fiqh. The real muqassir is the muqassir who eats from the rights of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. And over here, in order so that the kalam is balanced, there are two people in this right of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra who do zulm on Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. The one who willingly does not pay the khums is guilty of zulm upon Sayyidah Zahra. And the one who collects the khums and misuses it is equally guilty, if not more guilty. Allah, Allah, on the day of judgment when the Ma'soom Imam comes to that person who misused the khums. Ala kullin. When Siddiqat al-Tahira, if we understand that khums is the right of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, we made a statement in the beginning. Khums as an avenue of tax within the Islamic government. We said that the role of the tax is what? The khums. If you look at just this part of the verse, this khums is supposed to be used upon the yatim and the miskin and the ibn sabil, which means that a part of the usage of the khums as an Islamic tax is to improve the economic status of the people within the Islamic Ummah. The khums as an Islamic tax is supposed to be distributed amongst the orphans and the less well-off and those that are stranded. Wabn Sabil, by the way, refugees can also come under this. Wabn Sabil, the idea is that you raise people out of poverty. This is the entire understanding of khums. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the Quran is telling you that if this is the goal of khums, to raise the yatim and the miskin out of poverty, but the right to use this money upon the poor and upon the yatim is given to Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. You know what this means? This means that Allah has granted wilayah to Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra in regards to the economic prosperity of the ummah. She had a role in the government of Rasulullah to uplift the people. Which is why if you go back to the books of history, ever since the land of Fadak was given to Siddiqat al-Tahira, the wives of the Holy Prophet say there was not a single household in Medina that slept hungry anymore. And this wilayat, divine authority of managing the economy within this divine government of Allah, who the head was Rasulullah, because for close to 3 years Khaybar was under the property and under the ownership of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. So she was functioning within the government of Rasulullah in this avenue, which shows you the wilayat of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra during the wilayat of Rasulullah. And this wilayah of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra is supposed to continue into the imamat of Amirul Mu'mineen. This is why we say that Siddiqat al-Tahira is the link between Nabuwat and imamat. So no, I would think that it is just because of family ties and because of marriage and this and that. That is shallow. There's no nepotism in Islam. Even though the relationship is important, blood relationship, but there is something much more adim. And this is divine authority and wilayah. So if we understand this, Ahibai, when Siddiqat al-Tahira, as per the acknowledgement of Aisha in Sahih Bukhari, when she comes to Abu Bakr and she says to him, give me my right from the khums of Khaybar. If you understand from this verse, the legislation of khums, she was coming to the people of Saqifa and saying to them, you have no right in the divine authority granted to us by Allah. You are taking away from us the divine right given by Allah. Because now what you have done is you have changed this verse of the Quran. وَأَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمْسًا وَلِلرَّسُولِ, and instead of Dhil Qurba, remove it and put Sahaba. This is what they were doing. This is how serious the issue was. It is not a minor personal issue, such that Sayyidah Zahra over a personal issue would stop talking and refuse them from attending her janazah. Shabab, this is an ounce, a surface level understanding of the extent of the wilaya of Fatima. We haven't even spoken about the faith. We haven't spoken about the faith, because she asked for, in Bukhari, she asked for the faith in terms of the land of Medina, Fadak, and the Khums of Khaybar. Tonight, I want to recount for you the final days of Siddiqat al-Tahira. Inshallah, the masa'ib of the burial we will have tomorrow, inshallah. So we can recite the entire masa'ib and give it its due right, inshallah. The beginning of a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The historians mention that upon the death of Rasulullah, upon the martyrdom of Rasulullah, and when the rights of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra were usurped, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra spent the final days of her life in intense grief. She was weeping and she was wailing every day for the time that she was alive. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra would go to the graves of the Shuhada. She would go to the grave of her uncle Asadullah Hamza. She would sit at his grave. She would make a tasbih from the soil of the grave of Hamza. She would remember the days of Hamza and the days of her father, and she would weep and cry. Historians mention that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra used to go to the graveyard at the graveyard of Uhud to do the ziyarat of Hamza every Tuesday and every Thursday. Allahu Akbar. And then she would come back to Medina. She would go to Masjidun Nabawi and she would look at the grave of Rasulullah. She would weep and she would cry. One of the days she went to Masjidun Nabawi. She was crying at the grave of Rasulullah, but because of the tears, she tripped over her hijab and Sayyidah Fatima fell onto the grave of Rasulullah. She was crying so intensely that Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra fainted. Allahu Akbar. The women of Bani Hashim came and they began to throw water on the face of Sayyidah Fatima. When Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra gained consciousness, Allahu Akbar, she's sitting at the grave of her father Rasulullah. She picked up a part of the turba of the grave of Rasulullah. She smelt it and then she put her cheek on the turba of the grave of Rasulullah. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra in a very painful voice said, ماذا لمن شم تربة أحمد ألا يشم مدى الزمان غواليا كل المغيب تحت أطباق الثرى. She looks at the grave and she says, "O Rasulullah, you who is sleeping underneath this turba, can you hear me?" What did Sayyidah Zahra say? She's talking to Rasulullah. What did she say? She says, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra says, "Subbat alayya al-masa'ib law annaha subbat ala al-ayyami sirna layaliya." Oh my father, there are so many difficulties that have fallen on me. If these tragedies fell on the day, they would turn the day into night. Allah. Ask you, Ya Sayyidah Zahra, what are these tragedies? If you were to ask Sayyidah Fatima, what tragedies? I don't know. Maybe she tells you of that nail that punctured her lung. Allah. Maybe she will tell you my broken rib. Maybe she will tell you Mohsin. Allah. Don't ask me, you know this grief of Mohsin, This grief of Muhsin has killed Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. We don't know where did they bury Muhsin. Who came to comfort Fatima when they put Muhsin in the ground? Shia Muhammad. Our teachers in the house used to tell us, you know, when this lion kicked Sayyida Fatima, when he kicked Sayyida Fatima and Sayyid Muhsin became Shaheed, our teachers in the house say, this is not only the death of one baby Muhsin. He says that with this one kick, he killed 1/3 of the nasl of Rasulullah. Don't ask Fatima what tragedy is she crying for. Subbat alayya al-masa'ib. The history mentions that Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra every day was crying for Rasulullah. She would cry in the daytime and she would cry in the night time. So the people of Saqifa came to Amirul Mu'mineen. They said to him, Abul Hasan, Fatima cries in the daytime and Fatima cries in the night time. We are not able to work in the day and we are not able to sleep in the night. Tell Fatima either to cry in the morning or to cry in the night. The reality of the matter is that every time Sayyida Fatima cried, it reminded them of the zulm that they have done. It reminded them of the dhulm of Saqifa and the usurpation of the right of Amirul Mu'mineen. This is why, Ahibai, these voices that tell you don't cry for Ahlul Bayt, their agenda is the same agenda as the people of Saqifa. Amir al-Mu'mineen goes to Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra and he says to her, Bint Rasulillah, the people of Quraysh and the people of Medina are complaining. They tell you either cry in the morning or cry in the night. Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I will only remain in this dunya for a few more days. And I promise you I shall never stop crying. I will cry in the day and I will cry in the night. So Amirul Mu'mineen went to Jannatul Baqi and he built a house called Baytul Ahzan. He built a house for Sayyida Fatima to go there and to cry. The narrations mention every morning Amirul Mu'mineen would take Sayyida Fatima. She would hold the hands of Imam Hassan and Hussein, Zainab and Kulthum. They would go to the house. Sayyida Fatima in Jannatul Baqi, Baytul Ahzan would cry for Rasulullah from morning to evening. In the evening, Amir al-Mu'mineen brings them back. Allah, don't ask me, because in some of the narrations it mentions that Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra, when she would walk to Jannatul Baqi, she would walk by holding the hands of Hassan and Hussein. One of the ulama, they asked, how was she holding the hands of Hassan and Hussein? One of our teachers said one hand was on the broken rib and with the other hand she holds the two children. Allah, give consolation and pursa to Siddiqat al-Tahira, huh? Allahu Akbar. Closer to the time of her death, Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra, because of the intensity of her injuries, she had become extremely weak and she was not able to move or walk because of the pain. She would many times be unconscious and sometimes she would be conscious. So one day she called close to the time of her death. She called Imam Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and she said to him, Ya Abul Hasan, I saw my father Rasulullah in a dream and now this is my time to leave the dunya. Allah. Amirul Mu'mineen's tears began to flow down his cheeks. Amirul Mu'mineen said, Qad azza alayya musibatuki. Your musibah, your death is very great on the heart of Ali. Who is going to console and be the source of support for me after you? Amir al-Mu'mineen said, but this is the amr of Allah. So inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The hadith then says, فَذَمَّهَا عَلَى صَدْرِهِ. Amir al-Mu'mineen then put the head of Sayyidah Fatimah al-Zahra on his chest. And he said to her, give me your wasiyah. So Sayyidah Fatimah al-Zahra began giving her final wasiyah to Amir al-Mu'mineen. She said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, when I die, number one, I want you to marry Lubaba. She will be a good mother to my children. After me, Ya Ali, Ya Abul Hasan, be gentle with Zainab. Be gentle with Zainab. It is difficult. It will be difficult for Zainab without her mother. Sayyidah Fatima then says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, when I die, I want you to give me the ghusl, and I want you to give me the kafan, and I want you to put my janaza in a taboot, and I want you to cover the taboot from the top such that no one can see my kafan or my janaza. She then says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I take you by a qasam, I bind you by a qasam. I do not want any one of the people from Saqifa to attend my Salatul Janaza. I do not want them to pray over me. Ya Abul Hasan, I take you and I bind you by an oath. I do not want any one of those people who oppressed me in Saqifa to even come to my funeral. I do not want them to know where I am buried. So when you bury me, Ya Abul Hasan, conceal and cover my grave. 3 days, Allah, Shi'at Al Muhammad, Shi'at Fatima. 3 days before her death, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra called her daughter Sayyidah Zainab. She says to her, Oh Zainab, I have a wasiyah for you. Allah, the wasiyah of Zahra for Zainab. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra gives a shirt to Sayyidah Zainab. This is the shirt of Nabiullah Ibrahim. Sayyidah Zahra says to Zainab, there will come a day on the day of Ashura when you are going to be in Karbala and your brother Hussein is surrounded by the enemies. He will ask you for a qamis. Remove this qamis and tell Hussein your mother Fatima had left this qamis for you. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra then says to Zainab, Oh Zainab, I have a second thing to tell you, and I have an amanat that I would like you to give to your brother Hussein on the day of Ashura. Sayyidah Zainab says, what? Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra says to her, Zainab, when your brother is going to the Maidan for the final time, I want you on my behalf to kiss the neck of your brother Abu Abdullah. As you, Ya Zahra, Why do you want to kiss the neck of Hussein? Perhaps Sayyida Zahra is thinking that khanjar of Shimr and how it will hurt Hussein. This Mazloom mother wants to kiss the neck. Allah, Allah, on a day like this, which is the Shahada of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra, in the daytime Sayyida Fatima cooked the food for the children. She cooked the food for the family. She then washed the hair of Imam Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. She then sent them towards the masjid. She then took Sayyida Zainab and Sayyida Kulthum, and she sent the two of the girls into one of the houses of Bani Hashim, because Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra did not want their children to witness her death. It will be very hard for Zainab to see the ruh of Zahra leave. Sayyida Zainab sends Hassan and Hussein to the masjid, Zainab and Kulthum to the house of one of the women of Bani Hashim. There was no one in the house except Asma bint Umais. Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra says to Asma, I am going into my room. So long as you hear the tasbih, know that I am alive. And if you stop hearing the tasbih, know that Fatima has left this dunya. Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra went into her room. Allah, Allah, Ya Shi'at Fatima. These are the final moments of the life of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra. Allah, Allah. Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra lay down on the floor facing the Qibla. She began to recite the tasbih. Asma bint Umais says, I stood outside the door. I was listening. I heard Sayyida Fatima for some time dhikr. She was saying Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah Allahu Akbar. After some time, I put my ear close to the door and I could hear Sayyida Fatima speaking. Suddenly I heard her say, Assalamu alayka ya Rasul Allah. Assalamu alayka ya Ammi ya Hamza. Assalamu alayka ya Jibreel. After some time she said, Assalamu alayka ya Malak al-Maut. Asma bint Umais says, Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra then straightened her legs. She began to sweat on her forehead. Sayyida Fatima closed her eyes. In a very faint voice she said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The ruh of Fatima left her body. Wa musibata wa Fatima. مات में फातिमा, मात में मोहसिन.
Hussein, 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 Hussein,
حق مانگنے جو زہرا دربار میں گئی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ حق مانگنے جو زہرا، حق مانگنے جو زہرا دربار میں گئی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ آواز آ رہی ہے میں بنت مصطفیٰ ہوں، بابا کے کلمہ گویو میں ہی تو فاطمہ ہوں، پہچاننے سے دنیا، پہچاننے سے دنیا انکار کر رہی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ سن کر سلام حیدر کوئی نہیں ہے رکتا، واجب نہیں سمجھتا کوئی جواب دینا، افسوس فاطمہ بھی، افسوس فاطمہ بھی یہ بات جانتی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ حق مانگنے جو زہرا، حق مانگنے جو زہرا دربار میں گئی ہے، یہ غربت علی ہے، یہ غربت علی ہے، یہ غربت علی ہے۔ ایک کوچے میں پہنچ گئے، دیکھا ہے مجتبیٰ نے، ظالم نے ضرب ماری ایسے خدا ہی جانے، تے نبی زمین پر، تے نبی زمین پر غش کھا کے گر پڑی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ پہلو بھی ہے شکستہ، ہاتھوں پہ بھی ہے چھالے، ہے آپ کی امانت اب آپ کے حوالے، یہ کہہ کے مرتضیٰ نے، یہ کہہ کے مرتضیٰ نے میت نبی کو دی ہے، یہ غربت علی 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 ہے۔ کافی ہے بس یہ فکرہ رونے کو زندگی بھر، ہاتھوں کو اپنے اخ سے کہتے تھے مد کے حیدر خیبر شکن کی زوجہ خیبر شکن کی زوجہ گھٹ گھٹ کے مر گئی ہے یہ غربت علی ہے حق مانگنے جو زہرا حق مانگنے جو زہرا دربار میں گئی ہے کافی ہے بس یہ فکرہ رونے کو زندگی بھر ہاتھوں کو اپنے اخ سے کہتے تھے ملک حیدر خیبر شکن کی زوجہ خیبر شکن کی زوجہ گھٹ گھٹ کے مر گئی ہے کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ دربار میں ظالم کے دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی کس طرح سے تو بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی کس طرح سے تو بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے طیبت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے
تو روتی رہی گھر میں، تو روتی رہی گھر میں، حیدر سے بھی چھپ چھپ کے، عصمت کی طرح دکھ بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے، کچھ درد تیرے بھی بس جانتی فضا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھتے، بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک والی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، مسمار تیرا روزہ امت نے کیا جب سے، بابا تیرا رہتا ہے تربت پہ تیری تب سے، کب غربت خضرا میں بابا تیرا رہتا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، مرہم تیرے زخموں کا بی بی نہ ملا اب تک، اولاد امیہ کی باقی ہے جفا اب تک، رونے پہ بھی پہرا تھا تربت پہ بھی پہرا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، مہدی سے کوئی پوچھے کیا اس سے پہ گزرتی ہے، آواز بقیہ سے جب رونے کی آتی ہے، آنکھوں سے لہو رو کے وہ بھی یہی کہتا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھتے، بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک والی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، قربت بھی شکستہ ہے،